Hey, hello everyone. So here's the problem. Uh, about 20 to 30% of project managers has already managed an IT project. And starting from 2026, I can guarantee that this number will just skyrocket. Like most projects in the IT industry will be, or IT related projects will be uh, somehow related to AI. And the challenge is that this is a new type of project. It has a new type of life cycle because there is new type of works involved. There are some new approaches. There are some new risks and new quality problems that we need to solve as project managers. That's why welcome everyone to the last live stream of this year. Today we are talking about AI project life cycles. We'll tailor your project life cycles to the needs of AI data and ML projects. I'll try to explain what it takes, what it means, what you should be aware of. And this is like a second part live stream on this topic. If you missed the first one, you can check it on my YouTube channel. It's dedicated more on hybrid project management, but that's the foundation of what we're going to talk today. So please, if you are like new here, hello, my name is Dmitro Nizhebetsky. And if you don't know the drill, please leave a comment right away, say hello, and let me know where you're joining from. I'm really enjoying to know that we have a worldwide community of project managers. So with that said, let's jump in. I want to uh, make it very intense and quickly show you around the problem. So last time we talked about hybrid project management. So why hybrid? Because generative AI projects, they will involve certain cycles where we need to select, evaluate, and deploy GenAI model to our problem. We need to verify that problem quickly and proceed with further development and fine-tuning. Then data projects life cycle will also require certain phases with data mining, data cleaning, where you cannot just wing through it. You need to be ready for those types of phases in your project. And obviously, AI ML projects, artificial intelligence and machine learning projects, they combine both data and AI projects. They are more complicated, the most complicated, I would say, projects in this group. So, yeah, hello, Radek from Czech Republic. Glad to see you here. Thanks for joining. So last time we discussed what a like hybrid project management approach is, and you must have seen this picture, this depiction of a large project life cycle in the IT industry. This is called the software development life cycle. And it shows you all the possible phases. You don't have to have all these phases in your project, but this is how we develop software for last maybe 10 to 15 years. Kind of like people mix this with waterfall. It's not waterfall, it's just plan-driven life cycle. And in this life cycle, you basically can have a hybrid project management approach, which basically means is that you will have some plan-driven phases, and then you will have some execution testing done with agile frameworks. That's basically what a hybrid project management means. Nothing fancy. So to master any type of life cycle, any type of hybrid project management life cycle, you need to understand a few things. And this is the core of project management job, I would say. You need to structure projects into manageable pieces, into phases of the project, and each phase will have its deliverables, and then you need to understand the nature of work required to create those deliverables, and based on these factors you will have to select the correct approach to implement those deliverables in those phases. That's why when we talk about any life cycle, anything that relates to life cycle and selecting the right approach. So basically, we're getting to this idea. Each phase has certain certain deliverables, and it's better to implement those deliverables using different types of frameworks. So, as I said, phases and deliverables. You must understand the nature of work in each phase. And when we are talking about AI projects, ML projects, this is a new thing. Like in IT industry, it started like booming just a few years ago. And as I said, only 30% of project managers experienced AI project. So there is a lot of blind spots and gaps in knowledge as to what it takes to implement an AI model and build a product with AI capabilities. Then assess the requirements for each deliverable. So this is the basics, again, of project management. You know the phases, you know the deliverables, and then when you know what's the deliverable, what's the tangible outcome that you need to create, you must collect requirements towards for that deliverable. And again, this is similar. Like if we're having AI ML project, that's the same. We need to assess requirements for each deliverable. And the main point here is that, okay, will these requirements change? How fast? What's the feedback loop, the time to get the feedback on the requirements? And in AI projects, this is very important because GenAI has a lot of uncertainty. You have to do a lot of quick tests, POCs, and so on. Data projects don't have requirements usually until you do the data mining, and ML projects have the combination of both of these problems. So that's why you need to assess this, and I'll show you where it comes from on the next slides in GenAI projects. And last but not least, you select the project management approach for each phase. And usually you try to combine data and AI projects. You want to combine different approaches in data and AI projects. So here's the main takeaway. I would say you must, like, if you want to lead AI projects in the next year and you want to be employable, you must dedicate some time towards understanding the nature of work. I'll try to give you the outline, to give you some ideas that you must understand. And after that, you need to go and explore it. There are like other options. I have a course where I've been teaching hybrid project management for over 10 years already. I knew that this would be the future of IT industry. So one entry point, if you want to know what I'm doing in addition to these live streams, you can actually scan this barcode with your phone, or you can go and check the link in the description. Sign up for this free course, and then I'll walk you through my approach of project management. And as a testament of time and all these changes, I can tell you that still what I am teaching holds up, and all these new projects still use the same approach. They still work well with the teaching I have in the course. But that's not the point of today's conversation. So let's jump into Lifecycle. I'll be talking about just few slides, and we will be walking through the life cycle of AI projects and try to understand the nature of the work. So when we talk about GenAI project life cycle, we need to unpack quite a lot of things. So what does GenAI mean? GenAI stands for Generative Artificial Intelligence, or what you basically know and experience. It's all about using these LLMs or any other generative models, for example, those that create pictures like Nana Banana from Gemini, or any video models that create video. So these are generative AI models. So what's the challenge here? Usually you start, as any type of project, you start with pre-sales phase. And during pre-sales phase, you most probably communicate with your clients, and you promise them that, all right, now we have AI, it can do so many things. We can create new types of projects, new types of capabilities that were never developed before. And that's true to some extent. If you think about it, like right now, or before AI, I would say to implement an application, a capability, we need to write strict logic, uh, which has branches, if then, that, else, and you basically display these branches of logic to the user, and they do some actions and so on. So you need to write a lot of code to drive the user into the right direction, I would say. All right. With AI, you basically replace a lot of logic and make AI to make the decisions on how to process the data. And at the core of any IT project, again, we need to understand that it's as simple as you have a data that comes in, you have some transformation of this data, and then you get some data, transform data or information out of your application. That's all. And in the middle, it's either an algorithm that you implemented or some logic that you implemented through code, or now you have generative AI as a powerhouse. But the problem with these types of projects, like, we promise that it can do basically whatever you want. It's easy, it's simple, because under the hood, we have the same models, the same principles and ideas. But let's not jump into that. Let's understand that any LLM that we can use right now has certain limitations, like, hallucinations, biases, maybe some training cutoffs, and so on and so on. So if you don't, by the way, if you don't know that stuff, you 100% must dedicate time before the end of the year and learn these limitations and capabilities of AI. Again, if you go to the mini course, you will have some ideas from there as well. So that's out of scope of this live stream. But again, you must know limitations of AI when you go to pre-sales phase. That's number one. And because there are limitations, you must set correct expectations. So nothing changes here. We did that before in IT industry for many years, but now it's just a new area that you must understand and communicate correctly to the clients. But why it's so mysterious? Why so many people are basically blocked or limited in this area? Why don't they develop this technical awareness? Well, that's because they assume that AI is a very technical topic. There is a lot of data science behind it, math behind it. While in reality, when we talk about Gen AI projects, most of them are using, like, I would say, even in a different words. If you take any AI application right now that you use on your computer, in your work, if it's not the standard ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, or some other chatbot, then you have a tool. And I can tell you with 95% certainty that under the hood, that application uses a model, the same model as one of these main chatbots uses. So it's either OpenAI or Claude or Google's Gemini or something like already a popular model. And as I said, 95% of applications in GenAI projects use an existing model, and you will use the same existing model. So your first inclination in implementing any AI project is to try to make it as cheap as possible, as simple as possible. And usually that means is just using the API from OpenAI, like from ChatGPT, the same model. You can use them. By the way, if you don't know, if you go to platform.ai, I think, you can create an account and get access to all the APIs and all the models that ChatGPT uses. And it will cost you like pennies for tokens that you will use, and you can start building your applications. Gemini has a Google AI Studio. You can Google it basically to find it. And for free, you can use all the capabilities of Gemini. You can create applications, code, and everything. So I strongly encourage you to play around with all these free tools available. Because at the end of the day, here in any Gen AI product, during pre-sales, you will need to understand, okay, what's the business challenge we have, what we try to solve here. And you as a project manager, together with your engineering teams, need to understand, okay, is it possible to do with this cheap solution, just using existing APIs, existing models, without any training, without any manipulations? If yes, nice. We jump and start trying to prove that idea, that hypothesis. And that's why we get into the proof of concept. And here, here's the main, I would say, new type of phase for most traditional IT project managers, if we can say so, is that Gen AI projects, they start from validating the feasibility of that idea. And because we have such a powerful tool, in most cases, the answer is yes, we can do that. It's possible to implement whatever the crazy business idea you have. We can combine different AIs, different models, and do this stuff. But here's the problem. Because there is a limitation which is called prompt sensitivity, when you are using AI, generative AI, LLMs, from the major providers, you cannot guarantee the consistency of results. So even if you write a professional prompt, you put it in your application, the problem will be to ensure that every time a user interacts with your tool, you get them the consistent outputs of correct quality in correct format, and so on. And a lot of things that are happening here is that you try different models, you try different ideas, different combinations, and you try to prove that it's possible to do. And if you go and look at top cloud providers like Amazon, like Microsoft with their Azure platform, Google, and so on, they all give you this upfront. So if you have like developers, you can ask them to show you around, but all these platforms give you unified APIs and libraries to access all possible models. They claim they have like hundreds of models. So on top of like 10 that you heard of, like Gemini, ChatGPTs, or OpenAI's models, cloud models, and so on, you have hundreds more less popular, less known models there, and you can play around with them as well. So the idea here is that, okay, in the proof of concept phase, you kind of, the idea is like inclination, I would say, is to go with Scrum. And because like this iterative nature of R&D projects, you want to do this using Scrum, and then like even like maybe use the 1 week sprints and do it very quickly. But that's not quick enough. The problem is that when you get Gen AI project like this, you need to prove what we're going to do. If it works, can we proceed? You need to maybe create like 5 to 10 POCs or ideas during a day. So you try to verify different ideas multiple times per day. It's not like you can plan them out like hundreds of these research processes and then like wait for a week to see if something went well. And then you need to compare all these models and outputs of those models between themselves. That's why in this proof of concept phase, you're basically having a series, a rapid burst of POC, proof of concepts, that just aim to prove that, yes, we can solve that problem. And once you get a certain solution, if you find the combination of prompts, of models, and the outputs, and maybe some chains of prompts, and so on, like that's something that your engineering team and your prompt engineers will tell you about, you will get to this stable output. And now you will get into MVP stage, where you will wrap this model and its outputs and its prompts into some kind of application. So basically, you will create either a mobile application or web application as you did before. Nothing changes, but the idea here is that you will quickly develop some product that shows to the clients that this idea is possible with the AI. All of this may happen in a span of like few days to few weeks. So usually this is a critical moment where you have to work very closely with the team. And I would recommend that it's not Scrum. It's either Kanban or you just do plan-driven approach, not plan-driven, task-driven approach, where you basically discuss all the hypotheses or all the POCs you want to do with the team, and they like report at the end of the day what they achieved, and so on. And after that, once we get after MVP, we prove the concept, we understand it's possible, we get into more stable, I would say, life cycle, software development life cycle, where we use that capability that we proved through proof of concept and MVP, and then we add more capabilities, add more features. So if you think about like an analogy, you got your MVP through, like, you build the basic ChatGPT's capability, like the chat itself. And then during development, you are adding projects, you are adding custom GPTs, you are adding memory, you are adding personalization, and so on. This is what happens in development. But the main idea was to prove that we can use LLM and we can chat with them, and we build the MVP. After that, we add capabilities. And here's the next part where you may get like fine-tuning and testing. That's where you apply general quality assurance principles that you would use in software development, and you will run a lot of test cases, and you will have to go back and fine-tune the prompts or the model selection or any other part of the application. One caveat is that, not a caveat, but alteration to this life cycle is that sometimes when you get more and more experience, when you have a more experienced team, you will get clients who have a very basic, very simple not life cycle, but idea of the project, so the business problem that they try to solve. So maybe they just need to combine different information, analyze it, and give you a report. And this is quite straightforward. It's just apply whatever you can apply in ChatGPT with simple prompts. You just need to make it into an application. If that's the case, usually you don't have this proof of concept. Instead, you build the MVP very quickly. So just put together all the APIs, all the UI that you need, like custom user management, API, and platform, and then you have the product. And after that, you quickly jump into fine-tuning and testing. So I want you to understand that there might be two different types of GenAI projects. GenAI project that has a crazy business idea, which you need to validate that it's feasible to do with generative AI. And second part is when a business idea is very straightforward. It's totally clear that GenAI can do this. And in this case, in this second case, you quickly build the application. And you spend most of the time iterating through on fine-tuning. So basically, you are trying to massage the prompts, the models that you use, maybe some parameters that you can use there, and so on. So here's the thing. Most GenAI projects are relatively short. If you don't go into fine-tuning a model itself, that should be quite easy. But we're not talking about this. If you want to learn more about, like, if you want to advance your literacy in AI, I strongly recommend that you combine it together with advancing your project management skills. So go and scan that barcode, get into my ecosystem, and you'll quickly learn what I have to give you. All right, let's move on. So these are GenAI projects. They are relatively simple, with one caveat that they will be rather small and fast. So you should be prepared, but you cannot the idea is that you cannot just start them with a simple Scrum and do Sprint Zero and do these 3 first phases, the red ones, as a Sprint Zero and like waste 2 weeks to get some feedback. You need feedback daily, multiple times per day, I would say. All right. Let's move on, and we have data projects. Data projects, I've been here for many years. It's not new idea, but they become more popular right now because every single organization, every single company understood that, hey, we are sitting on a huge amount of data, but this data is spread across different departments. So there are different owners. It's spread in different technologies, in different databases. Some of them are on-prem, some of them in the cloud, some legacy systems. So it's scattered across our landscape in the IT. But there is such a great thing as AI, as business intelligence, as Power BI and Tableau things. Why don't we put all our data into a better place like data lake, Databricks, whatever new technology will come, and have all the data consolidated and ready for you. So this is the basic idea of data projects that will come in 2026. So companies will try to consolidate data so that they can use it after that, maybe with AI, maybe with something else. So here, with I would say the biggest challenge of data projects is that you basically have only business requirements, very high level requirements at the start of the project. Like, yeah, we need to find the data and put it in one place so that we can build either a dashboard or then train a model and use it further. But when it comes to implementing such project, the biggest challenge is that no one knows where the required data is, what it means, and who owns it, and so on and so on. So that's why such projects usually have this fancy phrase which is called data mining, which basically means that if you imagine an enterprise organization, like big company, it has factories, it has I don't know, some operations, sales, marketing department, so it's huge. And they say, okay, we need to see how our like logistics works and where we can optimize logistics and so on. And it means that you need to go through the whole chain of production, delivery, and whatever else, and sales and fulfillment, and collect the data and put it all together, make it work together. And if you imagine that, then this big organization has multiple stakeholders. There is a whole IT department. They need to give you access to databases. You need to look at this data, take samples maybe, and then like if you ever saw an SQL database or any other non-SQL database, whatever, you will have these columns with data with some column names that don't make sense, like date or purchase date, delivery date, and so on. On surface, they might be self-explanatory, but you might have like date 1, date 2, date 3, date 5, and God knows what it means. So the biggest challenge is that A, you need to get access to all the data, B, you need to look at it, and then when you extract it, you need to understand what it means. And until you do this, you basically cannot build or write out requirements to your projects because you need very specific instructions to your for your engineers to say, okay, go to that database, take that data, transform it in this way, and put it in this data lake or this database. And then take another piece of data from second database, transform it in certain way, and put it next to this first piece of data. Only after that it will make sense. Only after that this data matches and has some business logic, business value after it. If you just take the data, put it in one database, in one table, it may not. And so on and so on. And you can imagine that it will be like 10 databases from different systems, in different formats, in different even logic, how they used it, and how they update it, when they update it. And you need to build these pipelines, data pipelines, again, the term that you may need to know, to extract the data, transform the data, and then save it to the new place in the cloud, which then can use the data more efficiently. So that would be the most the challenging part here, that without data mining, you cannot basically understand the requirements, because when you see the data, you will need to reach out to many stakeholders so that they can explain you the data and its purpose and how it matches with other pieces of data from other sources. And this is the bane of many such projects, where people are like, okay, we just need on the surface, on pre-sales phase, these projects look very simple, like just take the data, put them into the data lake. But when it comes to real implementation, it's not like you can just put it there and that's it. Like just the physical movement of data from this legacy server on-prem to the cloud may take, just because of the volume, like it may take days, weeks, or sometimes years if they don't have bandwidth on that server. And then again, you need to understand the business logic, and you will not have this information at the start. And all this leads us to the most complex, most challenging projects that will come your way in 2026 because of AI, because of everything I said so far. So companies sit on data. They will want to get insights from data, because data right now is the biggest asset of any organization. Who owns data has now capabilities to optimize their businesses, get insights into their customers, and a lot of stuff just with AI. So that leads us to AI ML projects. Again, AI stands for artificial intelligence, and this is an umbrella term, as you should know already. And ML stands for machine learning, which is just a branch of artificial intelligence knowledge domain, as well as deep learning, machine learning, neural networks, and so on. These are the terms that you need to educate yourself in. I will not go too deep here, but here's what's important. When we get to AI ML projects, we get a combination. And by the way, this is not there is a difference between machine learning projects and GenAI projects. You don't use the existing model, or at least you don't use like as is this model. Instead, you train your model on your own data to get certain outputs. So basically, you do the machine learning model creation and training. And this combines both of these worlds. Now, again, pre-sales, we can promise customers that if they have data, we can train a model and do some crazy stuff with the data that they couldn't do manually before, even with technologies, even with Power BI or stuff like that. That's why we'll have to do the same things that we did for data projects. We'll have to do the data mining, understand what's the data, what data they have. Then we will identify requirements. And in this case, there is a golden rule when it applies to AI and ML projects, that garbage in, garbage out. So it's not enough just to take data and put it into data lake or any other source and then use it from there. No, like you need to clean up the data, you need to normalize data, you need to do a lot of manipulations with the data to prepare it for model training. And that's why the exercise is more, I would say, granular and fine-tuned. You need to find the right data. You need to ensure that it's full. There are no like blanks. There are no spikes in data or invalid data. Then you need to take it to your cloud storage or data lake, whatever. Again, I don't want to get too technical here. And when you understand the data, you will be able to come up with the requirements to build the infrastructure to get the data. Now, with ML projects, there might be even more complicated stuff when it's on the one hand, you might say, okay, we can just take one set of data, and the data is the same across the time continuum. So if we train the data on this data set, we'll be okay. But in most businesses, in most cases, it's not like that. Yes, you need to take this historical data because they have a lot of it for model training. But then, because of different yearly fluctuations, because the business evolves, because something changes all the time, you need to feed the model with the current data and then retrain the model and ensure that you update it with the current state of things. So in this case, when you know what's the basic business case that you need to solve, you will start finding the right data, and then you will need to decide whether you need to have fresh data as a part of your data ingestion. All right, this is another layer of complexity that you might need to implement. Maybe in other projects it's the same idea, but here it's a real challenge. So let's assume that you did that, you build the infrastructure, so you have pipelines that took the data from different sources, from organization, it puts it in a consolidated place where you can easily manipulate the data. And most data projects end here, but that's just the start for machine learning projects when you need to train the machine learning model, because you cannot basically take that data and start model training. And again, this boils down to the idea that I started with. You need to understand the nature of work to be a great project manager in this case. So again, if you want to be a great project manager with AI and ML projects, you need to understand how machine learning training happens, what it means. And another term that you will hear in this domain is that to train the model, you need to prepare features. And features are basically, I would say, like if you imagine a table, it's just one column, that's the feature. And there are a lot of data science problems with data as we have it in the real world, because there might be data like as images. You need to transform those images into numbers, because like all the machine learning happens through numbers and vectors. Then you might have some columns, for example. One of them is like the amount sold, like, and it's in dollars, and it has a range from thousands to millions. And then you have a second column that you want to use as a feature, which is like from I don't know, quantity, from tens to hundreds. And you need to normalize all that stuff because machine learning, then the model will basically value bigger numbers in some cases than smaller numbers. So there are a lot of things that your data scientists and data engineers will know. It's just that you must understand these ideas on a like awareness level, and you need to prepare for this work. So again, the pitfall in most ML projects is that you assume that once you prepare the data, so basically you put it in the database, you cleaned it up, that's all. No, actually that's not. Let's just start. Then your data scientists need to prepare the features, and they need to clean out the data, modify data again, so that they can use it for model training. And this brings us to another critical concept, that it's not a one-shot like assignment or task. Like you prepare the data, you prepare the features, and you start model training, and boom, you have the perfect model. No, that doesn't happen like this. Instead, you will have to train the model multiple times, tweaking the parameters, tweaking the features, and then comparing the outputs of that model. and you will do it 10 times, 20 times, which means that you need to understand that it's not a manual process. If you do it manually, if you will, every time you will basically ask developers to, I don't know, make adjustments in the database manually and start a model training manually, that will take huge amounts of time. And there is a whole new domain, if you want, appears, which is called ML Ops, machine learning operations. It's similar to DevOps that we had before, like development operations, where we build this continuous integration, continuous delivery systems. Same idea here. There is a lot of technology stuff going on in data and ML projects where you need to build infrastructure and delivery systems that will speed up this model training. Again, a bit of out of the scope of this live stream, but that's something that you need to explore as well, because you cannot apply just software development lifecycle principles here. You need to understand that this model training happens iteratively, and you need to fine tune it, and then a lot of stuff going on. And then when you get fresh data and you want to include that fresh data in training to keep the model working, that's another part of this ML Ops setup. All right, so we collected the data, we cleaned it up, we selected the features, data scientists did some magic and created the features and started the model training, and then they verified the results. Here's a critical part. There is a separate phase, which is model validation, which you need to understand. It might be quite short, but that's like a quality checkpoint. It's like a quality assurance report at the end of the phase. And you want to make it as a deliverable. You want to make it as an official document that verifies that the selected model out of 20 that we trained is the gold master that we'll use in our product. So if you put it all together, there are a lot of iterative things that you cannot plan. So you cannot plan how many iterations on model training you need. You cannot actually plan to like 100% certainty that your data will be sufficient, that you will not require to find additional data sources to get the results out of model that you want. That's why ML projects have double the amount of uncertainty, double amount of risks involved. And sometimes you may find that you will get through all these phases to model training, and you like train 20 models and still the outputs are bad. You'll have to get back to the start, find additional data, do some research, and build maybe some additional infrastructure and start from scratch. And this makes these projects very challenging, because you'll have to build correct expectations again on the nature of work, on the uncertainty, on the risks, so that the clients are like willing to invest in this type of outcomes. I would say stakeholder management here is one of the most critical parts, because you will have to deal with a lot of technical stuff that you don't understand, you never experienced, and then you'll have to translate that technical stuff to all other stakeholders who are not aware of this the same way. There is also a conversation about, during pre-sales, there are actually a lot of different machine learning models that do different stuff like classification, regression, and so on. Again, out of scope of this live stream, but the key differentiation here, if you are thinking about ML product or ML capabilities in your product, is that during pre-sales there will be a conversation. Okay, we have this data. What can we get out of it? And you have to have a certain checklist in your head. Okay, which like general models, ML models you can apply, and what results they can provide, like categorization or just like clustering of information, and so on and so on. So you have to be able to explain this in simple words. So as you can see, I would say that overall, the biggest challenge of AI ML projects is that they include data projects, and data projects in themselves are very technical. So I can tell you from my experience, interviews about data projects, you always get technical questions. You need to understand technology involved. You need to understand what happens under the hood, more than just APIs and API calls or quiz or anything. Like, you need to know the components. You need to know some tools that you can specifically use for data ingestions, data transformation, for monitoring quality of data, and so on and so on. And this, by the way, these systems require a lot of monitoring, because it's not like one and done application. It's a ongoing stream of data that you need to control for maybe years after that. So you will have to build something that will ensure that the system works, the data flows from all these data sources into this data lake or whatever you use. Okay, so I would say that next year, all project managers will be challenged very hard on technical awareness. Again, you don't need technical skills. You don't need to know how to code, how to run those things yourself, but you must develop a technical awareness of all components. And there are like dozens upon dozens of technologies involved in this simple life cycle, just to get information from different sources, to store it in different sources, to transform it, to monitor it, and so on and so on. To deploy it, model training is another thing. So now we're getting into the space where technologies just multiply, and because web was always a wild west, and you have to combine all these technologies that don't communicate with each other. Now it will be even harder. Now you need to be technically aware of data, AI, and software development, because even at the end of the day, if you have a model, you will want to use its outputs in some user interface. It's not just for the sake of training the model and like, okay, we have a cool model, nice. You will want to connect it to user interface, and that brings us back to the software development world that you experienced before. All right, guys. So this is the quick introduction to AI ML projects. If you want to stay up to date, if you want to develop technical awareness in AI, machine learning, I'm pretty sure that that would be the focus of my YouTube videos, my newsletter. So I strongly recommend that you go and scan these barcodes right now. If you haven't already, get the mini course as a bonus. It will help you to reduce the chaos on your project. It will teach you a few concepts that will help you to structure these projects. By the way, one big thing is that ML and data projects, they are not agile, they're hybrid. And therefore, you need to know plan-driven approaches that work in the real world. So I know, guys, that a lot of you have PMP, but don't fool yourself. PMP gives you just the theory, the terminology, but you need to know how to apply it. And that's why even this mini course will give you more practical insights into how to structure these types of projects than PMP and even new PMPOC guide that they just released. All right, I have like 5 minutes more. If you have any questions, let me know. Ideally, if you can, keep it to the AI ML data projects topics. If not, I can try to answer them. But one disclaimer, I'm not a data scientist, I'm not a data engineer, I'm just a technical program manager if you want. I know the technical stuff, but don't ask me crazy data science questions. All right, while you write your comments, I'll just recollect or finalize the whole idea of this live stream of what you need to be prepared for. So, AI projects, Gen AI projects, ML AI projects are a bit different. They are not completely different, they are a bit different. And if you don't understand the nature of work, what happens on those projects, most likely you will apply not optimal project management approaches, which may lead to project failure. I don't say that you will fail them, because most probably because of your experience, of your skills, communications, and everything, uh, you can survive through these projects. But if you want to be like great project manager, like the one who is moving in the same speed as the technology, you need to understand the nature of work that happens in those types of projects. And the rest is basically the same. Once you understand the nature, you will quickly see that you may not have requirements, or requirements are very high level, and you need to do some work in advance before you can start collecting real requirements to the project. And that's why you need to select a bit different types of project management frameworks, especially at the start of the project, so that you can run those efficiently. Radek asks a question: do you use Notebook LM? Yes, I do use Notebook LM. Very powerful tool. I would say I have two main use cases, or three main use cases. For projects, you can put your project documentation in there, and it becomes your knowledge base. Very easy to find information, get reference to specific quotes from that information. So you can imagine, if you have paid version, you can put like 50 files or even more there from your, for example, requirements conversations, and then quickly find the answers from there. Second, of course, learning and deep research. For example, this knowledge about ML, machine learning principles, and how it's done, I started with Notebook LM, collected the high-level information, got the terminology, got the big ideas, and then I dive deeper into each and every aspect that I don't understand. And last but not least, I use Notebook LM as how would I say it, as a prompt generator. So if you think about it, you need to develop certain skill, and it's a practical skill. For example, tomorrow you want to run live streams like this one. How would you do it? If you will start like searching the old way through Google, and even through I don't know, for ChatGPT, it will give you like a lot of steps that involved in that. And for example, one of them, how to create, I don't know, a thumbnail, or how to connect this even tool to live stream, and so on. And instead of just like browsing all the topic at once, I would create a Notebook LM that will collect a specific area of that topic and will give me step-by-step instructions. And if I can, I would automate that as a prompt. I will ask it to create a prompt for further use with a proper chatbot. Okay, that's a good question. By the way, I have a video on Notebook LM. If you will go to the video section on YouTube channel, you will find it very quickly. But it develops so fast, like every month they release new capabilities, that I probably need to record a new one very soon. All right, guys, if there are no any questions, I hope you enjoyed this topic. I will repeat that I'm pretty sure that if you are a project manager in the IT industry, and even if you are not in the IT industry, you will soon see that these data, AI, generative AI, and ML projects will come your way very, very quickly. And you will quickly notice at the start of 2026 that job descriptions will all include proven experience with AI projects, with AI or machine learning, or deep understanding of machine learning and AI. This is already happening. At the start of the year, it will be everywhere. Like not using AI is just a red flag. Not knowing machine learning principles like on technical awareness level is a red flag. Not knowing the basic AI literacy, like all these limitations like hallucination, prompt sensitivity, is a red flag. You must be able to discuss this because there are a lot of business questions, business decisions that a project manager needs to make when it comes to selecting the right AI, correct AI model, correct AI implementation, because there is a complexity matrix in my courses, which I explain that it's like if you go one level up in complexity of AI, it costs 10 times the previous layer. So basically, if you use generative AI with prompting, it's very cheap. Once you get to reg, it's 10 times more expensive. If you go to fine-tuning a model, it's like millions of dollars. If you try to create a new model from scratch, that might be like tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's some decisions that you will have to shape in your stakeholders. So if you don't educate yourself very quickly, the next year will be very challenging for you. All right. With that said, I wish you good luck in the next year. Merry Christmas, New Year, whatever other holiday you celebrate. Set up the goals, and I hope to see you live on the live streams next year on my YouTube channel. See